What's going on, Panther Nation? What's up, the Nation? It's another episode of Blitz Talk on a Wednesday night, not Thursday. Got some other obligations going on for the rest of the week, man. But we are back here talking about winners and losers post-draft. The draft is over with. I think the excitement throughout the fan base has been through the roof. I think a lot of people are taking their words back, what they said about Dan Morgan. I think people are starting to receive that rebuild, resurgence. Just a different vibe in Carolina. Even though some media outlets still don't respect Dan Morgan and the Carolina Panthers, I think the time is now. We have our GM. We're going to get into it. We're going to definitely talk about how we see certain things playing out with winners and losers. We have, not mistaken, I think five winners. We may have an honorable mention, and then we have about 4 losers that we think. So go ahead and pull a chair up. Get your favorite snack, get your favorite drink, keep those feet up. We're about to have a good time tonight, man. So as always, over here, what's up, Doug? We have a couple of guests that we bring on every week when we have an episode. And this week we have no other than 2 special gentlemen that are a tag team for another Panther content creator. You see them more on Twitter, but I had the pleasure of joining them last week during the draft. So let me go ahead and bring on one other half of the Keep Purring podcast, and that's no other than Ben. Go ahead and tell the people what's up, Ben.
What's going on, everybody? What's up, Doug? How you doing, man? Thank you for having me on, man. This is awesome.
Yes, sir, man. Like I said, I laugh because Ben and myself been having jokes here and there yesterday when we were doing slides and everything. So the way he said "What's up, Doug" got me kind of cheesing. But
I was thinking about is your name. What's up, Doug? And I was like, are there any other ways that he could have said that? You could be like, "How you doing, Doug?" or "What's going on, Doug?" And those don't have the same. Those don't roll off the tongue as well as "What's up, Doug?" So I like the name. I've always liked the name.
I appreciate it, man. So we're waiting on the other half of Keep Purring. So while we do that, we'll do a couple of comments. Go ahead and we see people in the chat. What's going on, Derrick B? That's one of our mods here. It's talking about Doug. Petro Master, what's going on, Doug? What's going on, man? Ben, you got somebody saying, "What's up, Ben?"
Oh, what's up, man?
Then you got Colo Official. Yes, sir. Let's go, Ben. The celebrity. We're going to talk about that while we wait on Mr. Eric, because I know what you're talking about. Donna B said, "Nephew, what's going on, madam?" Gaddy, like I said, my guy, another mod here, Black Ball Enterprise. I appreciate you pulling up, man. Jay Balmer said, "Greetings and salutations, everyone." Then also, again, if you're new, hit the like button for us, subscribe to the channel. Pull up a seat. Like I said, this is your first episode watching What's Up, Doug. Have a lot of fun here, have a lot of visuals, have a lot of analytics. We're going to get into it. But let's go ahead and talk about a celebrity. So, Ben, how did it feel that yeah. Throw it. Yeah, I got you off. Yeah. How does it feel that the Panthers used your tweet to talk about T-Mac? I'm not going to call him his actual government name, but T-Mac. How did it feel, man?
I mean, I'll be honest, man. I was geeking out. I was geeking out this afternoon. I walked to my car, leaving work, and just pulled up my phone and saw that somebody had messaged me, and they said, they're like, "Hey, the Panthers just used your post or something, or tagged you in a post." And I was like, "What? Somebody's playing a prank on me right now. This can't be true." And so, I went to the Panthers page and I saw it. It was pretty cool, dude. I mean, it's kind of funny because earlier today, so here's what happened. I shared a recent article that Cassidy Hill, who works for the Panthers, she wrote an article about T-Mac, and I shared it. And in that article, she talked about, she had a quote from T-Mac where he basically said, she asked him, like, "Who are you looking to Moss in the NFL when you get the opportunity?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to be going against him in practice, so I kind of think J.C. Horn." So I posted about that, and I shared the link to the article and everything. And then I think it was yesterday, J.C. Horn quote tweeted me and said, like, "All right, buckle up," or something, we're about to get
seatbelts. All seatbelts have a size.
Yeah, all seatbelts have a size or something like that.
Yep.
And of course that got me freaking out that JC Horn, saw my tweet. And so I was kind of nerding out over that. And and then earlier today, the Bleacher Report BR Gridiron on Twitter, they've got like almost 1 million followers on there. They did a post about the interaction with JC Horn, but they didn't tag me or anything. And so I got kind of pissed off, and I was like, "Hey, now, like, you come on now. I'm this little, this little Twitter account. You can't give me credit for using my post."
Correct.
But it's just crazy because this just goes to show you that like the Panthers they're watching, like they're paying attention.
We're going to talk about that because we're going to talk about with these winners and losers, a team that I think watched more Panther content creators than our own team. Because if you know how the draft went last weekend, there was a team in the division that took away most of our players that we wanted in a particular room. And I'm like, there's no way you guys knew the board was going to fall like this, or you're taking players off the board for us. So we're going to talk about that. Let's get some more comments. Eternal said, Ben, we got none of those safeties you promised us, my guy. Hey,
yeah, sorry about that.
Colo official, Dan said they're looking at a couple of free agent safeties to upgrade this position. We'll get into that as well. What's going on, Carolina's armchair GM, Mr. CJ?
CJ.
That's another part of the fam, another great content creator as well, man. Again, send prayers to CJ and his family after he lost his uncle last weekend. They put him to rest last weekend. So definitely keep him and his family in your prayers, everyone. Panther boy, what's going on, man? Our secondary's not that. We'll talk about it, Eternal. We will talk about it. Okay. What's going on, Mr. Red Swarm? I call him Uncle Red. He said, yo, what's up, Dub? Polo, Dougie, great draft class, Panthers. Got to give y'all props. Like I said, we're going to get into it, man. Zach, C. Dougie, what's up, my man? What's going on, man? Falcons, what'd he say? Falcons took our safety. We're going to get into that. I really want to talk about that a lot, man. Ben, my dog, what's up?
What's up, Zach?
Monet, what's going on, my guy? No problem at all, CJ. No problem at all. So again, like while we're waiting on Eric, let's go ahead and shout out our members too, man. If you would like a membership, it is only $9.99. It's less than $1. Again, our members, we just did members giveaway right before the draft. We will also be doing, I see everybody's doing jerseys. Some people are doing tickets. We're going to throw our hat in there probably right before our very last live, while we take a break right before training camp. We'll probably do a jersey giveaway. So we're going to do that for our members only. If you want to grab a membership, we will drop the link in the chat for you. And definitely grab it as well. And again, it's only 99 cents. So I would drop the link in the chat for you guys. If somebody does want to grab one tonight, definitely go ahead and grab one as well. Give me 1 second, chat. So, Ben, how are you feeling with the draft? Like I said, everything has been done with the draft.
Yeah. So, man, I'll be honest. I'm thrilled with the draft. It is an A+. Is an A+ for me. I going into the draft, I was somebody who I've been campaigning hardcore for T-Mac leading up to the draft. He's the way that I looked at it, and I've had this conversation with Eric. I've had this conversation with several people on Twitter. The way that my kind of thought process going into the draft was, okay, for me, Bryce Young, still the number one priority on this team. We just picked him number one in the draft, 2 years ago. We need to make sure that he continues to ascend. We need to make sure he has the best possible opportunity to succeed. And so for me, we had 9 picks going into the draft. It was a defensive heavy draft. It was deep at the edge position. And so I looked at it like, let's just pick Ted Rowe McMillan if he's there at 8. Just stay at 8, pick T-Mac. He doesn't like being called Ted.
Correct.
Pick T-Mac and then we can fill out their defense throughout the rest of the draft. That was just my thought process. I know a lot of people wanted Jalen Walker. A lot of people wanted defense. But yeah, so for the fact that it actually happened the way that I was kind of hoping it would, I'm still kind of in shock because they never do what I want them to do in the draft.
That's a fact.
And so if you guys go to our YouTube channel, you can see shameless self plug. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can see we did a watch party Thursday night last week, and I also posted our live reaction to the pick Thursday night because I was like, I lost my mind. Like, I was so excited, and Eric was like, "You've got to be kidding me," because he wanted defense. He wanted Jalen Walker. So it's pretty funny, and he's coming around. Eric has come around, and he thinks that, I think he gave it an A or an A+ as well, dude. I mean, Nick Scorton, however you say his name, Nick Scorton, Princely, to double dip, at edge in rounds 2 and 3 after getting T-Mac, it was amazing. Like, after that, everything else was gravy at that point for me, and luckily we kind of finished out the draft and had a good draft overall.
So for me, I was thinking defense as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't think our brass, meaning our head coach, Dan Morgan and Brent Tillis, could play poker. They were able to play poker. They were able to have us think we were getting a particular player in Jalen Walker or Mikael Williams, and lo and behold, it was Ted McMillan all the way. I will say the wrinkle that was in there, it was Mason Graham. I do believe that was the wrinkle there. But when the Browns traded back with Jacksonville and still got Mason Graham, I think if Mason Graham did fall at 8, I do think we probably would have got Mason Graham. But
so you do think that Mason was top of their board? I
would say it was 1A, 1B. It was either Mason or Ted, and I really think that front office was split down the middle between those two.
Gotcha.
For me, round 1, getting the wide receiver. We'll talk more in that when it goes with the winners and losers. But when you look at it, I'm not mad at the pick at all.
Yeah.
The value that you got in day 2 to start the draft off, that's what I think people are okay with the Ted McMillan pick. Yeah. When you get 2, and like I said, we're going ahead because we're talking about it. But when you get 2 players, one that's only 20 years old and another that was supposed to go in the 2nd round, and you got him in the 3rd round, there's a person whose name I don't say over here. There used to be the GM, and he was saying we're on every deal, we're on every trade, we're on all this and that. Again, you talked a lot, but your game didn't show it at the same time. And like I said, we can get into it. We do have Eric join us. Eric is having technical difficulties, so Ben and myself are going to try to hold it down. We will have Eric come up as well. I'm gonna go to a couple of comments, Ben, and then we're gonna go ahead and jump into the slides, my guy.
Yeah, cool.
Hold on, let me see. Panther Boy said, I hope we give these undrafted free agents a real shot. There are some sleepers we bought in, Doug, on both sides of the ball, especially defense. I definitely agree with that. I actually love that linebacker that we got. I can't remember. Is it New Mexico? I think it's New Mexico State or New Mexico that we got. He transferred from USC. Yeah. I like that. Wide receivers, I love Hudson out of UCF, and I love George out of Miami. I think we got a corner that was out of South Dakota State. I saw as well. So we got a couple of guys that I definitely like for undrafted free agents. Eternal says, C-Doug, what games are you going to this year? I would know that possibly here in a couple of weeks, but I have to talk to the future Mrs. because I got to pay for a wedding. So probably scale back, but I definitely want to at least go to 3 games this year. That is on my checklist. Let's see. There are 37 people in here. Hit the like button, chat. Appreciate it, Zach. It's free, people. It's free. Let's see. Hello Official said T-Mac can be a star if he really works. I agree with that.
Yeah.
It kicks in the stomach while you're down because there's still. Oh, that was a CJ. I thought that was a chat. I can't lie. All right, let me see this one. I can't lie. I would have took starts to Matthew Golden than the same rest of our same draft. Okay. Let's see. What's going on? Making True Money. And then let's see. Eternal. I don't even think Morgan wanted Walker. The media mocked Walker to the Panthers, and they kept quiet and let the public run their mouths. Okay.
I mean, did you see that Dan Morgan interview? Did you see where he basically said, Thomas Davis? They kind of replayed that.
And Thomas Davis called it. He called it
back in January. He called. Thomas Davis was saying T-Mac, and then Dan Morgan was like, "Yeah, I kind of decided not too long after that." So I think T-Mac was at the top of their board from the very beginning of the pre-draft process, and like you kind of said earlier, Doug, like, man, like the smoke screens, the wool that they kind of pulled over our everybody's eyes, thinking that we were going to take Jalen Walker. Like, that was a masterclass, because last year they totally, kind of let everybody know. We knew that we were probably going to pick Xavier Legette before first round last year. So just what a masterclass.
I mean, they kept it close to chest, and I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Zach wrote another comment. Dan Morgan did say if Mason Graham would have fell, he was the pick. There we go. Jamari said, I agree. The Tet and Mason Graham was on the Panthers board. All right. I only trust Sheena, Mike K, Matt, Vash, CJ, no one else. All right. If both of those players was gone, would y'all have traded back? So you're saying if Tet McMillan and Mason Graham was gone, yes. And I have a couple of trade back partners that would be the Dallas Cowboys, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Miami Dolphins. Right there, no further than the Cincinnati Bengals. I would have traded back. If my 1A and 1B was gone, yes, I would have traded back. And thank you, Carolina boy. I knew it was a West Coast team. It was Fresno State. Thank you so much.
And you know what? To your comment just there, I personally, and I might be wrong. I'm usually wrong about everything, but I personally think I don't think that they were ever actually seriously entertaining when they knew that they could get T-Mac at 8 at that point. I don't think that they were. Yeah, I don't think that Dan Morgan was interested really in trading back at that point. I think T-Mac was their guy. And now if they would have gotten some kind of home run offer, like a first round pick next year or something that they just couldn't pass up, then maybe. But to the point of Jamari's comment there, yeah, like if Mason Graham and T-Mac were gone, yeah, man, I don't know that they would have stayed at 8 and taken Jalen Walker. I think they might have taken one of those trade backs.
I honestly believe that too. And then CJ said, "Go ahead and give me your tickets." Hey, like I said, so something gonna give, because I know I ain't gonna make it every game now. That'd be appreciated. Yes, hit the like button, people. Please hit the like button. We got another Panther content creator. This man here. John, I can't believe you. You got to laugh at me right now, man. Talking about what's up, Douglas. Hey, appreciate you, John, for joining us tonight, man. Let me see. We're gonna do a couple more comments. We're gonna get into the slides, y'all. We got a great slide deck. Collab with Ben and Eric behind the scenes. So this is not just mine. This is also a collaborative effort of we see winners and losers. Don't think any of us actually wanted Walker. I think we tricked ourselves because we thought he was the for sure pick. I think he thought that as well too, because if you saw his reaction afterwards, he was kind of sitting there like, "Oh, I thought I was going to get picked."
Yeah.
Did anybody think Brooks and Etienne is the future after Chuba and Dow is gone? And do y'all think the young boys will have a chance? I think with the way we want to run the ball, I do think Trevor Etienne will be good. You still do have Rico Dow, and you still have Chuba Hubbard, 2 1,000-yard rushers. So it just depends. It just really just depends. So, all right, let's go ahead and go into the slides, and then I'll read some more of the chat. But also, we cannot forget our sponsor over here, which is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is your one-stop shop for you to get any ticket that you want: sporting, entertainment, recreational, college. So if you're a first-time user, you get $20 off when you use the code What's Up Doug at SeatGeek. Again, this is only for your first-time users. Again, if you have somebody in the household that doesn't have an account with SeatGeek, have them sign for SeatGeek and get that $20 off your next ticket purchase. Again, we appreciate our sponsor here at What's Up Doug, which is SeatGeek. All right, so that is off. All right, you ready, Ben? Let's go ahead and go into it, man.
Yeah, man.
Our first winner of post draft, and this goes for the whole offseason, is Dan Morgan's vision. Building the team the right way. We put free agency and the 2025 draft on one slide. I can read the names. If people can't see, you should know who we brought in, but we brought in 15 new pieces. Not talking re-signed or extended. This is 15 fresh pieces coming into the fold of the Carolinas and wearing that black and blue. From the draft standpoint, I was very surprised by the way Dan was able to do day 2 and day 3. With those trades, again, you have 2 young players in Nick Scorton and Princely coming in the fold and being able to be that young core. Ben also brought up a good point of one of the winners that we have as well, that we'll go deeper dive into those new defensive set pieces. But who can be upset with the vision that Dan Morgan had coming into year 1? If you look at, again, everything that he said that he was not able to do in year 1 or year 2, I said that wrong. In year 2 of him being a GM, past year 1, he's able to do it right now. He was very aggressive in free agency. He's actually has quality depth on this team right now. Again, we don't have to worry about getting anybody off the street. I understand corner and safety are a area of need, but if you ask me right now, you actually have a true GM that is respected around the league, and I think people are really seeing his vision come into fold with him rocking the black and blue, and he wants us to be back at those times when he was wearing the black and blue. So for me, the number one winner right now is Dan Morgan, our GM, with what he's done, not only for the draft, but throughout the whole offseason. You may leave it up for you, Ben, or you want?
Yeah, I'll chime in. The Panthers posted a video. There's Eric. There's the guy. What's up, dude?
Hey, sorry about
technology. Having some
technology.
technical issues there.
No,
Yeah,
you're good.
technology's great until it doesn't work. So, thank you for your
You're
patience
good,
there.
Yeah, so I was just saying we were talking about Dan Morgan's vision and how it's kind of coming together with free agency and the draft and everything. And Doug, I commented on one of the Panthers videos they posted yesterday, and I was like, let's let the praise be as loud as the criticisms have been with Dan Morgan, because man, he has gotten a lot of heat, a lot of criticism, since he took the job. And the reality is he was never going to fix this overnight. It was always going to take a while. And you started out with last year where he knew that the offensive line was an issue. So he went and fixed that. He addressed that. And then we ended up having one of the best offensive lines in the NFL last year, top 10 at worst, the top 10 offensive line. This offseason, we had the worst defense possible. And he comes back, and we didn't have any like huge splash signings in free agency, but we did enough, in my opinion. We did enough to be able to set ourselves up to go into the draft and not pigeonhole ourselves into having to pick defense, at number 8. So, I mean, and then like you said, I just thought the way he executed the draft was masterful. It was exactly what I kind of how I wanted it to go. So yeah, I mean, I think he deserves a lot of credit for how he's kind of managing things.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead and jump into it, man.
Well, hey, thank you for the warm welcome, everybody in the chat. Appreciate that. It's nice to finally be here. But yeah, I think Dan did a fantastic job, and I wasn't able to hear everything you guys talked about before, so if I'm repeating and rehashing, then just bear with me. But I think Dan did a fantastic job, and I probably underestimated how well we did in free agency, not necessarily in signing those blockbuster type players, but in the freedom that it gave us in the draft. And I didn't really consider how much leeway that gave us, because I didn't anticipate having an even defense and offensive split as far as picks go. Right? I didn't expect us to. I expected us to go, if we went wide receiver with the first pick, I expected 7 straight defensive players to be drafted. But it's clear that the front office felt like we did enough to give kind of that leeway. And they took advantage of it, and they went and got some fantastic players. I've been watching some commentary on Reddit about the new tight end out of Notre Dame, and hey, he was projected to be a super high draft if he had come out last year and didn't, and then kind of ended up falling. And Morgan today on the Pat McAfee show was talking about having a first round pick grade at the end for our second round pick, and then kind of the same thing for the having a second round grade for a third round pick type thing. So I think we did about as well as we could have. I was talking to a buddy of mine at work, shout out to Chuck today, and I was saying, I'm so used to after drafts going and seeing grades or whatever, and we get like a B minus. You know what I mean? Where it was like slightly above what we would see from, just kind of average. And this year, man, we killed it. We absolutely destroyed the draft. It was the freedom was brought on by free agency, but I was saying it's kind of like one of those Beautiful Minds type things, right? Remember that movie where he's kind of crazy, but when you take a step back and you see the spider webs and how it all looks like on taking up an entire wall, you're like, oh, there's a plan all along, right? Yeah. I think it's just one more reiteration of the people that are making these decisions are really, really, really freaking smart, right? Yeah. They get a hell of a lot of money to make these hard decisions and do all the research and put in all the effort and the time and the resources to learn as much as they possibly can about these players. And I guarantee you, are we allowed to cuss on here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, that they were picking who they thought was the best player for the team.
BPA.
Right? BPA. We all have the benefit of hindsight being 2020 because none of us have ramifications for making a bad decision or drafting a player out, taking a reach on a player when people thought that that shouldn't have been taken at that point or whatever. So, I think it's just important to remember that the people that are doing this, they make a heck of a lot more money than probably any of the three of us that are on this call, and probably most of the people that are watching. So we just have to recognize they're really good at their job. They kind of set all of this stuff up, and they have access to information that we didn't have on the draft that was coming in, knowing where we could kind of fill some holes. So,
I would say this: the thing for me is, I think David Tipper wanted to win so much that he got in the way.
Yeah.
When he got out the way and he put in football-minded people that he trusted, that's when the tide turned. And again, I understand last year I'll go back. Let me go back the year before. For everyone that said that Dan Morgan was in that room and he agreed with those picks and those decisions, you're lying to yourself. Because there's no way with the decision making that he's doing, with him being at the helm, that he was agreeing in certain players being traded up to go get. I'm not going to call any players' names out because we're going to talk about those. But when you look at his decision making, what he's able to bring in, and then the way he's able to take accountability, he honestly thought that last year, he didn't say we were a playoff team. He didn't say we were close. But you see the camaraderie of Dave and Dan. Not once did we hear this weekend, Evero told us to get this player, or is it told us to go get this player? It was based off of what our board, the discussion that we've had. The only thing that came out and was said was when Dave Canales said, in the mock drafts I was able to do, we never were able to get this or that player. So I'm kind of mind blown how we were able to do this in real life. So for me, that's where I'd say this vision is coming more bright. And shout out to Dan Morgan doing the interview with Pat McAfee today. Pat McAfee has always been, because of where Dan played at the U, that he's been a fan. But I think the national media is respecting it. Ben made the point before Eric came on that, hey, Carolina has never had a plus grade, one of the highest grades. It's always been a B minus. But again, when you hear certain people, we had one of the best drafts based off of need, where the player was projected to go, and then also what the player can come in and do immediately. So for me, I'm excited about us having a GM that actually knows football. Again, we've had plenty of GMs. We had one GM that hit in the first round, but could not hit afterwards. So for me, I honestly think we have our guy. The vision is very, very clear, and there's no question that it's going to take time. But I've even heard on One Panther content, this is just the first step. We're not in the building, but again, I beg to differ. I honestly think we're knocking on the door. I don't know if we kicked it down yet, but I think we're knocking, and it's a pretty hard knock.
It is. I agree. Speaking of hard knocks,
here you go. Go ahead.
I posted on Twitter today. I was like, hey, I tagged the Panthers. I was like, why don't we get on Hard Knocks? Try to get on Hard Knocks this year. And I did a poll and everything. It seemed pretty split down the middle. There's some fans who think they're like, no, that's too much of a distraction. Then there's other fans that are like, actually, that would be kind of badass. And, they deserve it. And, hey, we don't get to go to training camp this year. So, that would be kind of cool. Where do you guys stand on that? Just too much of a distraction, or do you think it would be cool to?
I think not as a content creator, as a fan, we want that. But even as a content creator, with us not being able to be there, I think everybody just wants that extra eye there, because we're not able to do it and we're not able to see it. So I understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, I think that I enjoy seeing behind the scenes. Right. Like I as a person, I love learning about things that I don't know, and to be able to have insight, it's a curated insight, but insight and visibility into what goes on into rooms that we're not invited into, especially for about players that we care about. It's something to watch another team because it's like, I know that, I've heard of that player, I know that name, but I don't really care about their success all that much. It's different when it's us and you care about it. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. Having the visibility is really, really cool because I like to, to understand and see and be exposed to those type of things. But also, sometimes you don't want to meet your idols. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't want to know how the sausage is made. And sometimes it's just kind of cool to be like, man, I know they put in a lot of work and I just appreciate all they do. And I just enjoy being able to watch it. So I don't know. I as far as whether I want it to happen, because I want to see it, but also I think from a win-loss standpoint and from a team standpoint, it probably is a little bit divisive. And I don't know that we're good enough to play the season on hard mode.
Yeah. Like I said, I think as content creators and fans with us not being able to see it in live in person, I do understand that. I think it is time that we possibly do it, but I'm not opposed to it if they do Camp Confidential and do the blueprint more with fans not being able to be there at training. That can be our hard knocks.
I do love it. They do an amazing job with the blueprint series. I hope that they have more episodes of that this year because it's so well done. It's great content.
All right. So I'm ready to talk about this one because I think this is going to be our longest winter conversation, but I think it's warranted. All right. Number 2 is Bryce Young, our quarterback who doesn't have weapons. And I said, who don't got no weapons? And I did say it that way for a reason. When you look at the 4, and I did not put Jimmy Horn, and I'm going to say this before I go far. I am a big Jimmy Horn supporter. I had the privilege of meeting him at the Shrine Bowl. I think Jimmy Horn makes this team. We'll talk about whose job he will take when it comes to the losers, but I am a big Jimmy Horn winner. Only reason why he's not on here right now is because right now, currently, I do not think Jimmy Horn is a top 4 wide receiver for us. But I think when we do have different plays, I do think Jimmy Horn would do something special for this team. So before we go into why Bryce is a winner, we're going to go to the verses. If you look on your left-hand side, I will read the names out. We have Adam Thielen, DJ Chark Jr., Terrence Marshall Jr., Laviska Shenault, and ISM. Versus Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, T-Mac, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Hunter Renfrow. That is the weapons that Bryce Young has at his disposal now. When you look at that top tier of the verses, Adam Thielen was still on this team. DJ Chark, if I'm not mistaken, he was with the Chargers. I don't know if he's with the Chargers anymore. Terrence Marshall Jr. was without a job, and I know people are laughing at the 46 number that he's wearing for the Philadelphia Eagles right now, but who knows if he makes that roster. Laviska Shenault was in a reserve role when it came to him being with Seattle, and if I'm not mistaken, he's with the Buffalo Bills. Then ISM was with the Giants. Compare that to the youth movement and what you have right now. You have a shorthanded Adam Thielen, who I think Hunter Renfrow, if he does make it, will take that role over with Adam Thielen having his final year right here. Then you look at Excel, who dealt with injuries. We're hearing great things that he's looking phenomenal throughout offseason and whenever they were in the building. Jalen Coker, undrafted free agent, who was supposed to be drafted. Now you look at what he's able to bring. T-Mac, you have your number 1 wide receiver, your big body, bona fide wide receiver. Then again, a speedster in Jimmy Horn Jr. Bryce now has the weapons that he was supposed to have coming into the league. When we traded away DJ Moore, who was supposed to be his number 1, he didn't really have anything. Then you go into the scheme of a coach who did not want him as a player, who did not help him with the weapons that he needed. Now look again, Dan Morgan being here, I know I have to set my quarterback up for the future with weapons. I can't just throw him out there with anybody. So again, our second winner for me is Bryce Young. There's nothing else that he can say that he does not have. He has 2 running backs in Rico Dow and Chuba Hubbard, and then you put Trevor Etienne back there as well. And now you have a plethora of wide receivers who I hate we're not going to be able to see when it comes to those wide receiver competitions, that it is going to be, I almost said a term, but I don't know if my mom's watching, but I'm going to say BW. Y'all know what BW means, and I'll put it in the private chat, because if it's like that, it's going to be electric when it comes here in the summer in Charlotte. So go ahead, fellas.
Yeah, I just, it's interesting because Bryce coming into the you just named his receivers his rookie year. It was Adam Thielen and then a bunch of like mop buckets basically running around. Like he had next to nothing. And it's interesting because now you look at every other highly drafted rookie quarterback that is coming into the NFL over the last 2-3 seasons, and teams are making a concerted effort to surround them with talent, surround them with weapons. And it's just funny because Bryce was he's become a case study of what not to do with a young quarterback. I mean, he couldn't have been set up worse coming into the NFL. And then not even talking about the offensive line. He had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. I thought this was interesting. Somebody in the chat said, our fans love to say Bryce has no more excuses.
Yep.
Yeah, that was Riz. Yeah, Riz B. Our fans love to say Bryce has no more excuses because the team is finally being built correctly. It helps Bryce haters sleep at night. Yeah.
Hey, appreciate that comment, Rizzer. Appreciate that comment, man. Go
ahead,
man.
But that's true. That's true. Like, I totally agree with that because, like, last year they started the process. They drafted Legette. They brought in Coker as an undrafted free agent. They drafted Jatavian Sanders, and that was a good start. And now though, they've taken it to a completely different level. They got T-Mac. They got Jimmy Horn. Undrafted free agents. They got Jacoby George, who was Cam Ward's number 1 receiver, I think, at Miami last year, right? They got is it Kobe Hudson? Kobe Hudson. They got
out of UCF.
Out of UCF, they got Muhammad's son.
Basically, Musa Muhammad's son.
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow, like you said there, like you have there on the slide. I mean, we have a stable of receivers to where it's like it's going to be difficult to kind of cut it down to 5 or 6. I could. This is the first time in a while where like I could legitimately see them keeping 7 receivers on the roster. But yeah, back to the topic at hand. Like Bryce is it to me? Yeah, a huge winner after this draft. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the no more excuses type of thing, and that's completely right. He has 2 1,000-yard rushers from last season in the backfield. He has Jatavion Sanders, and we just drafted another tight end who, seems to like he'll be able to compete. And we got the same offensive line coming back, and the continuity that comes along with that, is along with Mays and Corbett. And now we have people that can actually catch the ball. So I jokingly said during draft night when we went offensive instead of defense, was like, hey, well, I guess we're just going to have to outscore everybody, right? Because, we're not going to be able to stop them type thing. But the long and short of it is we've drastically improved our roster on the offensive side, which I didn't expect us to do as much this offseason as we seem like we have. But, tribute to Dan Morgan and the scouts and the rest of that side of the house, because they're out there finding people like Jalen Coker as an undrafted free agent last year, right? Who's balling out. As soon as it's hard for rookie wide receivers to get used to the NFL. At least most of them. It takes weeks to do that. And Coker wasn't always on the active roster, that kind of stuff. But he's going to be a really good player, right? We were able to find that diamond in the rough. Hunter Renfrow didn't even play last year, right? Nobody knew why he didn't play. But here's the thing. We've talked, this might be a little bit of a detour, but I thought this was really interesting. We've talked about the Tepper tax, right? Having to pay more for free agents to come here and whatnot. We talked about that over the previous 2 off seasons. Hunter Renfrow's agent is the one that called Dan Morgan and said,
talk about it.
Yeah. And so, and said, hey, listen, Hunter might want to come back. Would you be interested? And Dan Morgan was like, if he can do what he did in Las Vegas, then absolutely. Yeah. So they brought him in. They had conversations, found out about why he was out, of football for the year, and kind of everything that goes into that. But that's why the off seasons right now, 1,000%. 1,000%. It is. We have to.
You throw the bag at that man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a triumvirate, right? We got Brant Tillis, we got Dave Canales, we got Dane Morgan, and the 3 of those are they are doing good things, and they seem to work really well together. It's a cohesive unit, but we can see the results of it. We can see them going and finding diamonds in the rough and picking up players who some might think don't deserve a spot, but we're now in we got wide receivers for days, man.
Right.
We got wide receivers for days. And we were having a conversation last year, Ben. You said it's been a while since we might want to keep 7 wide receivers. But I was thinking last year we were having similar conversations when we were coming to final roster cut downs. I remember us doing our podcast episode about who we thought was going to be cut, who was going to make the team. And we were trying to decide whether ISM was going to make the final roster as like a final wide receiver. So but if you look at it this way, the difference in the quality of deciding who makes the team versus if we have a 7th wide receiver or not, the difference in who that 7th wide receiver could be is night and day. It's drastically different. Drastically different.
I mean, look at this again. Let's pull it up again. And Ben, I saw you laughing because you put your hand over your mouth when I was reading the names off. DJ Chark, Terrence Marshall Jr., LaVisca Chenault, and ISM. Again, I'll just read out the names at the top of my head that we have. Adam Thielen, Etzel, Jalen Coker, T-Mac, Jimmy Horn, Hunter Renfrow, Hudson. Then you got George out of Miami. Then you got Musa Muhammad's son. Mm-hmm. Right now in my hand, I think I just counted 9 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're not even talking about keeping 9, and it's probably 10 because I'm counting people that I think that are just count bodies.
David Moore.
David Moore.
He's a Dave Canales. He's a Dave Canales guy. So He could very well make this roster again.
This right here is what any quarterback's dream would be. I understand how people feel about Bryce, but now Rizzer, hopefully you're still in here, Rizzer, because Rizby is another big Bryce Young fan. It's on our guy. It's on our quarterback. Ben and Eric, I've never heard you guys say anything bad about Bryce. I think everybody was frustrated whenever he didn't produce, but there's no more excuses for Bryce Young not having weapons. His front office has set him up correctly from start to finish of a free agency, going back to last year as well. When you get JT Sanders, then you get Excel, then you go get Jalen Coker from free agency, undrafted free agency. Turn around the next year, go get another 1,000-yard wide receiver where you want to be a run-first team. Then in the draft, your number one pick is your number one wide receiver where you can't teach height. And I honestly think, I'm glad we finally can say that we can be in the realm of the Falcons where they have a Drake London and there's a Mike Evans. We finally have that caliber of height type player in the Carolinas now. So go ahead.
Remind me, dude. I was talking to somebody at work today, my buddy Chuck, about it. I don't remember us drafting a wide receiver this high. I didn't go back and do any research, but I don't remember previously us doing that.
The highest wide receiver was it Steve?
DJ Moore was in the first round. He was late first round.
Yep, that is correct.
This is the first time. Yeah, this is the first time we've ever had a true number one receiver coming out of college and having that opportunity. It's not something that we're used to experiencing. I don't know what that's supposed to feel like. You know what I mean? I don't know. So, but it's just going to be very new, for us. I do think it is going to be important. And I say this, the only reason why I even really peeped it was because of fantasy football and drafting wide receivers and rookie wide receivers in fantasy football. But it really is, man, unless you're like Justin Jefferson or, Jamar Chase or somebody that's coming out just, balling like that. It usually takes, 6 weeks or so to see the coverages and the speed and everything is just so different. So I I know that we're excited about having such a high wide receiver draft pick, but we need to exercise a little bit of caution. I'm a cautious person kind of by nature. So I don't want to, smoke too much of the hopium on this, but I think that the first few weeks are going to be a little bit rough. We just need to recognize that and not just think that that's how it's going to be forever and ever. Amen.
Well, here's the thing. And I said this earlier today on Twitter. I was like, I've seen a lot of people talking about T-Mac and how he has to have at least, people are making these proclamations like he has to have at least 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns to be considered worth the number 8 pick. And I'm just like, whoa. Hang on. He's a rookie. Adam Thielen is still going to command targets from Bryce Young because he's been Bryce's number one target for the last 2 years. They're going to be trying to get Xavier Legette more involved. They're going to be trying to get Jalen Coker involved. They're obviously going to get T-Mac involved. But I'm not putting some specific number threshold on T-Mac to be able to say that he was a success. Now, realistically, I think T-Mac could have, if he has anywhere between 700 and 900 yards and 6 to 8 touchdowns, I think that that's pretty respectable. It's very comparable to a lot of other highly drafted, tall, big receivers. I posted about that on Twitter earlier, and then the last thing I'll say about Bryce is yes, he is finally set up for success right now. He's got everything he should need. However, I'm just going to remind people the receiver's got to catch the damn ball. Okay? Because last year Bryce played phenomenal down the stretch. He was a top 10 quarterback in my opinion down the last 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. He played like a top 10 quarterback, but his stats could have been a lot better, and we could have won 2 or 3 more games if some of his teammates didn't drop the ball literally and figuratively. So yes, Bryce has to continue to, build on what he did last season. He has no excuses at this point, but the players around him also got to do their part. So I'm going to be kind of looking at all that as we go into the season.
I agree with you on that. And before we go into our third one, if I appreciate everybody that's pulled up. We have over 150 watching. Again, if you are new on X, definitely follow on X. If you're new on YouTube, definitely subscribe. Hit the like button for us as well. Also, if you want to put a comment in a super chat, definitely hit a super sticker, get a super chat. We will read it. But again, I appreciate everybody pulling up, and I appreciate the engagement with the chat, talking with Eric, Ben, and myself about winners and losers going into post-draft. So, real quick to recap, our first big winner was Dan Morgan, our GM. Our second winner was Bryce Young. Our third winner, I'm going to let Ben start it off, and Eric and I will rebuttal what Ben wants to talk about, because this is one of the guys Ben wanted to point out. So, here we go. Derrick Brown.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot of people. What's kind of gotten lost in the sauce a little bit when talking about our defense is the fact that we're getting an all-pro level defensive player back this year who was essentially not on the roster last year. I mean, we had the worst defense in NFL history. It probably wouldn't have been a whole hell of a lot better even if Derrick Brown was out there. But coming into this season, fingers crossed, Derrick Brown is healthy. But he draws a lot of attention. He draws a lot of attention from the opposing team. And I think that we did some good things in free agency by adding guys like Bobby Brown, adding guys like Patrick Jones on the edge. Ashawn Robinson's still there. Shy Tuttle's still there. So, we did some things to kind of build around Tershawn Wharton. I forgot about Tershawn Wharton. We also added him. So, we made a few moves to kind of solidify that defensive line. But we also, again, going back to the draft, the double dip at edge was just chef's kiss. Masterful. The fact that we got T-Mac in the first round and we're able to capitalize in the second and third round by double dipping and getting Princely Umanmielen. Yeah, I know how to say his name now. Proud of that.
Nailed it.
And Nick Scorton. And personally, I don't know about how much you guys have watched those two guys. I've spent a little bit of time the last few days kind of watching Scorton, and I think that dude is going to be an animal in the NFL. I think that he has a chance to be considered one of the steals of the draft. I know he's a little bit undersized, but he is just he plays with tenacity. He's a good run defender. He can speed rush, power rush, all those things. And so guys like him and Princely next to Derrick Brown, that's why I said Derrick Brown is a huge winner, because he's got all these other guys now kind of insulating that defensive line to where teams are not going to be able to just focus all their attention on Derrick Brown anymore like they have been able to in years past. So that's why I said Derrick Brown.
Eric, go ahead, and I'll finish it out. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that we have to kind of keep in mind that if you look at the draft as it was going to be projected before this previous season, all right, so before this last college football season, Nick Scorton and McMillan were top 10 draft picks. Mm-hmm. They were projected top 10s. So to grab that in the top of the second round, fantastic. I know there was a lot of concern about Scorton's production because he changed schools, that kind of thing, I believe. And so, but he's going to give us a lot of pressure on the outside. I'm super excited about Cam Jackson. I'm super excited about having just a massive wall of a man that can just take up space in the middle of the defense. We got absolutely gashed last year in run, right? People could run on us. They could do whatever they wanted. I'm very excited about having a big dude in the middle to be able to take up some of that space. But I'm guilty of, sounds bad, man, but forgetting Derrick Brown was on the roster a little bit. In the offseason, seriously, because he got injured so early in the season last year. We just didn't get to see him hardly at all. And so, as I was calming myself down from the T-Mac pick, and Ben, you and I were trying to talk about it on the couch. You're sitting here trying to tell me all the players that are coming back. Derrick Brown's coming back. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I guess he is, right? So I just think that I had kind of forgotten that what our defense looked like when it was supposed to be healthy, and I think that I think that Derrick Brown is going to be able to come back, and we now have an offensive line or a defensive line in the front seven where we can put some pressure on the quarterback. And while we didn't take a safety or a cornerback in the draft, if we can put pressure on the quarterback, disrupt the timing of routes, get the quarterback moving out of the pocket and on the run, those type of things, then we're going to really see it's going to help with us not having filled in some of those gaps. But I'm excited about the front seven, and I think Derrick Brown is going to be a huge component of that coming back. But we also we drafted so freaking well. Like we just drafted well, man, and we ended up with top quality. And Morgan in the interview with Pat McAfee today said they had a first round grade on Scorton, right? They had a first round grade on him. So we walked out of that with two players that we thought were going to be in the first round. And when we, kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier, Ben, about the Falcons and about the double edge rusher. After that first night of the draft, Thursday night, I was super jealous of the Falcons because they got Jalen Walker, who everybody was projecting, not everybody, but a lot of people were projecting, for the past couple of weeks leading up to the draft that we were going to take him. And then they moved up and they got another guy that they were excited about. And so I was really, really jealous. And then after Friday night, to find out we got the arguably best wide receiver in the draft, if you don't count,
Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Then we got that, and we got two tight ends, not tight ends, defensive ends, and one was thought to have been going to go in the first round, or could have gone in the first round. So it's just like, I don't know. It was that beautiful mind thing that I mentioned before. Like, I didn't understand what the whole plan was, but then after everything, you take a step back and you're like, dang, these guys are smart, man. You know what they're doing.
Yeah. And for me, I'll go to the back end. Let's start with 6'6", 338 pounds. Yeah. There's nobody on this roster that stands at that statue or that wide.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you look at Jordan Davis. You look at Jalen Carter, and then you look at Chris Jones. Chris Jones and Jordan Davis are in that same tier of height and weight. What Cam Jackson brings. Then again, you need a space eater. That's one thing that Dan Morgan even said. We were bringing in people that you're not going to be able to run on us so easily going into this year, and that has been a vocal point from free agency to the draft. Then you look at Princely, 6'4", 255. I call him a tweener. The reason why I call him a tweener is because he's very long and he's very raw. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I love whenever they did their post call with him, he said, "What took you guys so long?" He said, 3 to 4 years, I'm going to make you guys pay. Mm-hmm. That's the type of mindset I love, where you have a player that's hungry, coming in, out the gate, helmet on, lunch pail in his hand, ready to rock and roll and show you guys, I appreciate you drafting me, but I thought you guys loved me more than you guys did. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to see that. Then talk about Nick Scorton. And I see you, Eric. I'm going to pull down and I'm going to let you come back up. With Nick Scorton, I didn't put his actual weight that he was at Texas A&M to show the dedication that he wants to get back to his Purdue playing weight to 257. That shows dedication, people. Yeah. That shows dedication. So for me, I honestly think it's more of you're doing it the right way. You don't win the draft in free agency. I mean, you don't win championships through free agency. You win championships, you win division titles through the draft. You build it through quality depth. You don't sit there and just go spend buku of money for that particular player, and then you don't do anything on the back end when it comes to the draft here in the next couple of months. When you look at two players that you bring in, again, most of our losers, we're telling you guys there's one slide. We're going to break them down player by player. But some of these veterans are sitting on that hot seat right now, and that burner is on that bottom right now. And if you don't come to play or come to show out whenever it comes to training camp, you can say bye-bye to that. Again, I don't think there's anybody that's going to sit there and just be comfortable in their seat. Other than one player, which I think is Bryce, and I will say it again, Bryce doesn't have to worry about his job. Everybody else, you got to go out there and work for. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I just think it's important to. I agree with a lot of what you were saying. Building through the draft, we've seen it work for the Eagles. They've done a fantastic job of drafting defense. They basically have the Georgia Bulldogs as their defense now. But I think that as we look at more of like a 50,000-foot view of this, and we take a stock of all of the different roster moves that are being made, not just individually, but just in totality, our team has a vision, and our team has an identity. And I think that's one of those things that we were missing is our team didn't have an identity. We didn't know what we wanted to do before. But it is incredibly clear based off of the people that we are drafting and who we are signing in free agency and who we're choosing to keep around on the team and who we cut, that there are types of players that we are going after. And I know the Dan Morgan saying we want dogs kind of turned into a bit of a meme, that type thing, but he embodies that. He's not joking around about it. He said, "Give me the typical like Pittsburgh Steeler, blue collar, hard working, nose to the grindstone type player, because that's who he was. That's what he was, and we saw it with Luke Kuechly and just the dedication and the amount of effort and energy that's put into it. We want hard nosed dudes who can stand in there and welcome the competition. Don't shy away from it." Right? As we're talking about veterans and we're talking about having a little hot seat underneath them, right? We want the competition. Dan Morgan and Canales have been saying this from the very beginning. If we see somebody that can compete for a roster spot, we're going to bring them in.
Correct.
And then the best players are going to still be on the roster.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter if you're a veteran. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you're going to have to come in and kind of compete, right? But I think that the other thing that we're also doing in that process, and part of that identity as a team, though, is we're trying to show free agents out there that we'll take care of our own. We're paying our players, right? We're paying Derrick Brown. We're paying Horn. We're paying Chuba. We're paying players that have dedicated years to the team and have proven year after year that they can be a part of the team and need to be rewarded. And we're rewarding them for that. So this is like the opposite of the Tepper tax. We're trying to get a reputation that if you come play for us, you work your ass off, you do well, and you take care of our team, we're going to take care of you. We're going to stroke that check. We're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of your family, and we're going to make sure that you have a home long term. And I that's just part of the identity that we have. Man, I am here for it. I am absolutely loving every minute of it.
Hold on real quick, Ben. Shout out to C3 family. Got Mr. Pickle in here. Definitely appreciate you pulling up on us, Pickle. Digit, what's going on? Smokey, what's going on, my guy? My big brother in the chat. What's going on, Derrick? Eternal said, don't let Howard hear you say that. I know he's talking about the Bryce. Then we got Low, man, from the pregame show. We got Low coming here soon, too. So, again, stay tuned for that, man. Appreciate you pulling up on us, too, Low. Ben, did you have anything to say about what Eric had to say about the Derrick Brown or closing out our third winner being DB?
I have no retort. I have nothing. Eric nailed it.
All right. Let me see this question. He said, how about Jadeveon Clowney future? I haven't seen anyone talk about what was very surprising to me. We're going to talk about it. Trust me. Hey, you got your hand right there on the gas. We're about to hit that real quick. All right, let's go to our last winner. And again, this is just winners that we see from free agency and post-draft. And our last winner was Trevan Wallace. Again, no linebackers drafted in this draft. Yes, you brought one in free agent, undrafted free agency, but nobody was drafted throughout the draft to bring in for competition with him being a rookie. Yes, I did put Josie Jewell, Christian Roseboom, and Claude Shirley's opportunity is there for him to start again in his second year. I understand he left last year with an injury. 64 total tackles. Two of his best games. I looked at his stats, looked at highlights. Obviously, was that Chicago game when he got the green dot at 15 total tackles. And then when we played Tampa Bay the second time, he had 5 total tackles, 1 sack. Total season stats for him was 36 solo, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, games played 11. I understand with how running backs, linebackers, I apologize. Linebackers were last year. I understand a lot of people wanted what's his name? That came from NC State. That's with the Steelers. The linebacker.
This year?
No, last year. It was
Last
last year.
year. I don't
Peyton
remember.
Wilson.
Peyton Wilson. A lot of people wanted Peyton Wilson.
Yeah.
I wanted Edgerrin Cooper. Then you look at when we got Trevan Wallace. Nothing was wrong with Trevan Wallace, but again, he was thrown into the fire. We weren't expecting that many injuries to come in where you had DB and then you out Shaq again that quickly. Then Josie Jewell had to learn how to be that lead with his counterpart, Shaq Thompson, going down. I think with Trevan, it shows a trust. It's a give and take. It shows a trust that Dave Canales and Dan Morgan trust Trevan Wallace, that he's the linebacker, that the reason why they brought him in. Also for Nugget for that is he was on a top 30 visit with the Panthers when they brought him in. So they actually molded him. They sat down with him and they're ready to let him know that, hey, you're the linebacker of the future. Also for Trevan Wallace, we have not brought in Shaq Thompson again. That's not saying that's a deaded thing, but we have not brought in a player that's not going to cost you that much right now to come back to Carolina. So for me, I'm looking at it as you have the opportunity there. It's yours. Again, I will pull it back up. There is only Josie Jewell, who had playing time here, Christian Roseboom, and Claude Shirless. I think really and truly, I do think Christian Roseboom would get a lot of play. We obviously know Josie Jewell is going to get play because he's an Evero guy. But Trevan Wallace, you're the guy that can sit here and have the opportunity to be starting. Again, they didn't draft anybody. And that showed me the trust that they have in this young man. The recovery that he's coming back from his injury is great. And again, they love what they were able to see whenever he was on the field for those 11 games. So that's the reason why I think a lot of people are surprised that we put Trevan Wallace as a winner. But when you really think about it, everybody was thinking we were going to get a linebacker, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So go ahead, fellas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I agree. Like when I first saw this slide that you, at first I was like, wait, how is Trevan Wallace a winner? But then when I started thinking about it, then the points you just made, that's all really relevant. And the fact that, I mean, going back to last year, I remember like I went to I think two or three training camp practices and saw him in person and like I was super impressed, in person, seeing him. And I remember if you remember back to the draft last year, like there were people saying that he was one of the best linebackers in the draft. The opinions were it was very divisive. Like it's a wide range of opinions on him last year. There were some people that really, really loved him. There were some people that weren't as high on him, and I can't remember who, but I remember Dan Morgan saying that he had a conversation with somebody whose opinion he very, very much valued. And they told him that Trevan Wallace was their favorite linebacker in the draft last year. I don't remember who it was that Dan Morgan was talking about, but it was somebody like some former football player that he mentioned. And I mean, he's got the opportunity. Wallace has got the opportunity in front of him. And I think that the improvements that we made to the defensive line and the edge position is going to open things up. It's going to free things up for, Josie Jewell and Roseboom and Wallace back there and Charles. It's going to make their jobs a little bit easier. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like this could be a pretty huge, breakout year for Trevan Wallace. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about the draft last year, I just remember us getting a lot of flack about that pick, and people saying, "Hey, he was drafted too early. It was a reach." People had a 5th round grade on him, like that kind of thing. But again, I know we keep saying this, but like Dan Morgan is doing his thing, and when he sees somebody that he wants to go get, he's going to get them. And I think that if anybody knows linebackers in the Panthers organization, it's Dan Morgan, right? And so if he sees you working out and he sees your game tape and he says, I think you can be something. I'm gonna draft you in the 3rd round. That has to come with some respect, right? Like that, his position on Wallace has to come with some respect. And then he doubled down on it right now by not drafting one in the in any of the 7 rounds. We're not going to be able to go into the season with just 4 linebackers. We're going to have to do something. But I think it shows a lot of trust in Wallace that the entire organization has, that they didn't go out and try to, or it didn't make a big splash there. So I love it for Wallace. I enjoy watching him play. I've enjoyed watching him play since we started getting him on the field. I love the way that he flies around. He seems to be in the right place. He was still a rookie, so it was a little, he wasn't in the right place all the time. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for him, and I think it's heartening for us as fans to see that. Hey, the front office is seeing the same things that we thought we were, and they trust in the guy. They believe in him. They're going to put him in an opportunity to prove that he can do it, right? And say, put up or shut up. And then guess what? The linebackers are not immune. If there needs to be competition, they will bring somebody in to create the competition, right? And just continue to add depth and make the roster stronger. So I think he's a huge winner. I think it's a great call out by you, I didn't think about it before, but I'm kind of like Ben. When I saw it and I kind of started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, he did end up in a much better position. He is going to come out of this smelling like roses as long as he maintains his level of play that he had last year. You're muted. You're muted, Doug.
It was a wild card where I was like, I know Ben and Eric going to be like, oh, Doug, I'm not thinking about it. But that's the reason why I saved that one for the last one, because, again, it made – those wheels turn in your head. Like, I see where he's coming from, because we were all mocking a linebacker some way, somehow in this draft, and they did not draft anyone. I mean, one people were thinking about was Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. He failed. We never took him.
Mm-hmm.
Never took him. I know a guy Ricky Raines was liking was Buchanan. I was looking at Buchanan a lot more because of the knowledge that Ricky has. Most of the linebackers that we were thinking we were going to get never fell or never came to Carolina. So again, the one out of Fresno State, I do like a lot. I've seen somebody write a comment that I think he's from the family tree of Tro Polamalu. We know what Tro Polamalu was whenever he was in the league. So again, is that, and I'm gonna throw it out there, is that gonna be the new Frankie Lou who everybody's gonna fall in love with? So you never know, but again, for Trevan Wallace, I think that was the best stamp to say, you're our guy. We didn't go get a person. We drafted you last year. We love what we were able to see from you. Now just go out there, come back healthy, and still show what you were able to show with more experience of the game, with the game being faster.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
All right. We're about to go to our losers. We appreciate everybody that's pulled up. Again, we have over 190 between 2 platforms, man. I appreciate everybody pulling up to enjoy the collab with What's Up, Doug, and the Keep Purring podcast. If you are new, we will review our winners, and then, like I said, we have a long slide of losers. We'll go step by step. Again, if you do want to send a super chat or super sticker, you can. If not, we'll read your comments in the chat. If you are new, definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn those post notification bells on for us as well. So, real quick to recap our winners. Our number 1 winner was Dan Morgan in the division that he has for the Carolina Panthers. Winner number 2 was Bryce Young with the weapons. Who don't got no weapons? Number 3 was Derrick Brown with the pieces that have been brought in to go along with him coming back healthy. And our 4th winner was Trevan Wallace. All right. We will keep this slide up throughout the whole time we talk about the biggest loser. I'm going to throw it to Eric. Who do you want to talk about first? We have 4 losers that we just put on one slide that they didn't deserve a whole slide, and I mean they did not deserve a whole slide.
I'm gonna do this because it hurts my heart, and Ben, you might know where I'm going with this.
I sure do.
But we're gonna have to talk about Raheem Blackshear.
Yeah,
all right.
I knew it.
So Raheem Blackshear, I put 2 stats up, and I'm gonna pass it off to you. I put punt return. His longest punt return was 16 yards. His longest kick return was 43 yards.
Mm-hmm. So here's, for me, I think he's valuable in the return game, sure. But I think that, unless you're Devin Hester, there's not really like a difference, much of a difference maker in the return game, such that you need to take an entire roster spot for it. I really, really enjoy watching Blackshear play running back. I have since, he kind of came onto the team. I love his electricity and his quickness. And, he's one of those players that you feel like, he can make something big happen anytime he touches the ball. So I really hate that he's in this position. But, I mean, we just drafted Etienne. We signed Dowdle. We got 2 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield. Like, it's going to be hard for him to make the team. And I really hate that because, like I said, I enjoy watching him play. I enjoy what he can do with the ball in his hands. But this is going to be the culture moving forward of competition, and they're going to continue to bring people in, and that means that sometimes that we're going to let players that we really enjoy watching go. I was a huge fan of Luvu from literally the very beginning, and watching him play, and so him leaving and going to the Commanders sucked. I foresee the same thing happening with Blackshear. As much as I hate to say it, and I don't want it to. I think he's going to be ultimately, off of the team and be one of the biggest losers here.
Hey, real quick, Ben, unless you want me to go. Alex, my guy, I appreciate you pulling up, man. I do not call him by his channel name. He knows I don't because I laugh every time I see it. But shout out, Alex, man. I appreciate you pulling up, my guy, man. Do you want to go, Ben, or you want me to go?
I'll go. Do you want me to just pick one?
No, we're going to talk about Blackshear. We're all going to give our take on Blackshear. We're going to talk about all four of them.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. Blackshear, I kind of similar to Eric. Like anybody who's kind of listened to our podcast knows that we both have kind of been huge fans of Blackshear for the last couple of years. I chose him. Eric, I don't know if it was before last season or before the 2023 season that I chose Raheem Blackshear as my potential breakout player at one point. And it didn't pan out because he didn't really get the opportunity at the running back position. But yeah, with obviously Chuba, with Dowdle, even though it's only a 1-year contract coming in, and then with Trevor Etienne being drafted, and Trevor's he provides the punt and kick return versatility, but he also is going to be a good third down back. He's a good pass catching back. It's just really hard to see, where Blackshear's going to fit in. And it's a shame, but yeah, he's definitely one of the people that if I had to predict a handful of players who are currently on the roster, who probably won't be when it comes to time to cut down the 53. Yeah, I mean, I would probably put him on that short list.
All right, so a player that I shouted out when we talked about Bryce's weapons was Jimmy Horn. I watched Colorado, loved Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn, when he was at USF, he was electric. He took a back seat with Travis Hunter being the focal point of that offense. They had Tay Wester, they had Shepard and Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn, when you look at it, it's almost like one of those old cars where you move the little remote control and you try to control it. He's so shifty that it gives where I think they were trying to ask him, are you just a special teamers or what is Carolina bringing you in for? And you can tell whenever he said, me and the coaches have already talked about it, but I don't want to give the plan out. Meaning that there's a job for him here to go win if he wins it. And I think that's kickoff and punt and those gadget plays that we wanted him to do, where I think we had Tompkins last year, or you had Adam Thielen do tunnel screens or all this and that. There's going to be gadget plays where he's going to have to hit it, and it's going to be a boom or bust. And that goes also with kickoff and punt return. And I think somebody asked him, how do you feel about the new rules with the kickoff? And he said, I love it. He said, it's almost easy. And then they're like, what do you mean? He said, I think I can really do something special with my skill tape whenever it comes to kickoff and punts. Blackshear again, I will pull it back up. He had Again, 16 yards punt return, the longest last year, and kickoffs is 43. Also, when you look at for the running back position wise, you already had last year when it came to Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks was picked up, and you were still there. Then you look at they bring in Trevan Etienne from a draft pick, also bring in Rico Dow on a 1-year deal before they bring you back right before the draft. This is no shade. This is just numbers.
Yep.
So for me, I hate it because there's a lot of fans here that are big Raheem Blackshear fans. But for me, I need competition. Eric, you've been talking about it since we've started out. Competition. We need competition here to make this team great. I'm tired of being at the bottom. I think everybody says, "Oh, you're pushing losing seasons." No, 7 and 9 wins. Again, I think 9 wins help us get into the wild card. 7 wins, it just depends on what goes on in the division. But if we get to that 9-win window and we're knocking on the door, I'm fine with that because again, you're not looking at a 5-win or 4-win season or a 2-win season.
Yep.
So competition for Blackshear is there. Again, you also look at George, you look at Hudson, and you again, like you said, Trevor and Jimmy. I hate it for Blackshear, but again, even David Moore, if I'm not mistaken, I think Ben, I met you at training camp last year, right?
Yeah.
So you actually remember when we had the joint practice, they had David Moore doing punt return, and Raheem Blackshear was standing on the side. So you have to throw that name in there as well, too, because David Moore has experience with being a kick returner and a punt returner, regardless of him not being as electric as you are. So that's our first loser or biggest loser with their I'm glad I turned the slide on with their roster spot being on notice. I'm gonna save mine, so I'm gonna throw one out. Ben, you go, and then I'll go after you.
Okay. I'm going to go just to the guy right to the left there of Raheem, Shy Tuttle.
I was going to do that one, but I can't.
Oh, my bad. I can choose somebody else.
No, let's go.
Okay. Man, I honestly, I've just never.
Hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Alice, I appreciate that super chat. He said, I got to bounce, but we'll watch later, but respect on Ben's name. Go back and look at his old tweets. Dude's been on money 2 years in a row. Keep pounding. Appreciate that, Alex.
Agreed. Awesome. Agreed.
I don't know specifically what tweets he's talking about, but a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. All right, so you're good with me doing Shy Tuttle? Okay, cool. All right, so Shy Tuttle.
you make Doug lose it. He can't even get his breath.
Yeah. All right. I've never been super impressed with Shy Tuttle. I don't know. I've hoped for more, but I've been underwhelmed with him the last couple years. I know that that it's very PFF. I'm going to bring up PFF for a second. It's very polarizing. There's some people who like it. There's some people who think that it's a bunch of BS. But I do like to refer to it just every once in a while to kind of get a feel for like where guys stand compared to their counterparts at the same position. And I did want to point out with Shy Tuttle that last year he had an overall grade at his position of 42.7, which ranked 190th out of 219 qualified defensive interior players. Not good. Newsflash. He had a run defense grade out of 219 qualified defensive interior players. He had a run defense grade of 33.5, which was 205th out of 219 qualified players. And he had a pass rush grade of 198th. So I say all that to say he hasn't been great. And we just signed guys like Bobby Brown and Eric. You brought up Cam Jackson, who is an absolute monster of a human being. So I think, like I said earlier with Blackshear, Like if I had to create a list of like a handful of guys who could potentially not make the 53, and I'm not saying that Shy won't make the roster, but like he's got competition now. He's got some competition there at that position. And I do agree with your list. Doug. I do think that he's definitely a huge loser.
All right, so I'm gonna read his stats because Ben didn't read it correctly. You know, reading is fundamental. He didn't see the whole name, so it's Shy Total Turtle.
Oh, my bad.
So 46 total tackles, 0 sacks, 1 forced fumble. I am going to be as Mama, if you're watching, I know you. I pray you're not because I'm not gonna cuss, but I'm gonna try to be as nice as I can be. I appreciate you giving the money back that you did not deserve. That $3 million that helped us get a couple players in here. I appreciate you tagging along Derrick Brown's tailcoat so you can still be on this team and DB can be an advocate to say that you can be on this team. And I appreciate the forced fumble that you did get. And I remember that play that you recovered the ball. Other than that, my guy, what have you done for me lately? You're undersized and you're out of the wrong position. You're more of a 4-3 D tackle than a 3-4. When you bring in the people that we have brought in, it's a clear sign that you're not the guy.
Yeah.
And whoever brought up the tape of the Washington Commanders and how our whole offensive line got pushed back 5 yards before somebody was able to touch, that is sickening. And I know you were on that field that day. I did not watch that game. And again, this is the hardest person I'm going to be on because I have been trying to tell people Shy Tuttle is out of position, and he is not in the right scheme. When you look at whenever he came from New Orleans Saints, they were in a 4-3. I understand that he's a rotational kind of guy, but this is not the scheme for you. And with Evero knowing that his job is on the line, he can't put a person in there that he knows that if you're not going to make that play, my job is gone. Again, that's the reason why where Ben was talking, you bring in a Cam Jackson from Florida. You bring in a Bobby Brown III. You bring in a Trevan Wharton. You bring in a Pat Jones. Also, you still got DJ Wano. So for me, there's nothing else. The numbers don't lie for you. Then I can't forget Jalen Crumedy, who actually got hurt, who was actually looking good before he got hurt in that last preseason game. So you have
I forgot about him.
Battle. What'd you say?
I forgot about him, like because he didn't make it on the field too much last year. Yeah, that's a good call out. I completely forgot that
I told you I had to be very blunt. I'm looking dead in the camera. My mom says, "Buster, you need to look in the camera." And yes, I said that. Nobody don't repeat that. Yes, for me, I hate it because again, I'm all for every player, but you have to put your money where your mouth is. And right now, Shy Tuttle, you're not. Please shut me up because again, I love my black and blue. I live here in Texas. I'll wear my Carolina Panther things. I will say I was wrong, but right now I'm more on the right than the wrong with you right now. But again, you have an uphill battle. If you want to make this team, you go out there and earn your money and earn your keep. That's all I got. It's on you, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we signed him from the Saints, I really had the hope that he could be that, just, plug in the middle that you can't move. And it just hasn't materialized. He hasn't been able to do that. And it became very clear that without the support of other high quality players right around him, then he wasn't able to be a difference maker. Right. It became clear that he couldn't put the defensive line on his shoulders, so to speak, and move mountains in order to help other players or himself get to the quarterback. So for me, there's this is one of those times. It's not like he was a standout player on a terrible offensive or defensive line. He was a much less than mediocre player on a terrible, defense, right? So like, there's no redeeming qualities to kind of keep him there. Unfortunately, I don't have any allegiance to him or hatred towards him whatsoever. He's just not the right player. He had the opportunities. It didn't happen. I don't know all the X's and O's that well to know why, but I know it didn't work. And I know that, if we had been consistent in one thing over the past couple of years as a team, We are going to bring in people to challenge the roster. I'm going to continue to keep talking about it as long as it continues to be a theme, coming out of the organization. So we're gonna bring in people to challenge him. We are, and you know what? I'm with you, Doug. Hey, prove me wrong. I would love nothing more than to be wrong, right? I just don't think that we are. I think that we're right on this one. He's going to go. We're going to bring in other replacements that fit the scheme, fit what we're trying to do a little bit better. And hopefully a rising tide lifts all ships. Hopefully it's one of those that by incrementally getting better at each position, the defense is going to perform at a much higher level. But total is just not going to be a component of that, I don't think.
And I would say this: if there was another GM on his team, Shot Total will still be on his team, regardless of what numbers production he does. Because again, I think that guy is more of a loyalty guy than a production guy. And that goes to your point, Eric. If you come out here and produce, we bring you in, we will do our best to retain you. But again, that goes into that other GM that put us in cap hell, where Dan Morgan had to play with false coins and finally was able to have some money now and make decisions not just based off of emotion, but what he needed to do to build a roster with quality depth and bring in dogs on the team. So again, I want Shot Total to prove us wrong, prove the fan base wrong. But again, for me, with what they did in the draft and what they did in free agency, my God, I think the writing's already on the wall for you. There's nothing to be said. Like, you took a pay cut. Hey, okay. Whatever interview you had, you need to take it to heart. And hey, what's the saying I put in the chat? Being that BW. BW. That's what you need to do, my guy. So let me read a couple of the chats, and then we'll go into our next one. And somebody asked a question. QJ Smith, let me get to your question if I can pull it up. Appreciate you writing that question. He said, which safety is a better fit, Julian Blackmon or Justin Simmons, fellas?
Oh, I'm going to defer to y'all on this one. You're getting past my knowledge base.
So I put the answer, but I definitely put Julian Blackmon.
Yeah, I mean, Julian Blackmon's younger, first of all, right?
Correct. He is.
He's younger. I just honestly, I haven't watched a ton, kind of like Eric was saying, like I haven't watched a ton of either one of those players, but I know that Julian Blackmon's younger. I know from, following all the people that I follow on Twitter that there's a lot of people that really, really want Blackmon on the team. So I would definitely say Blackmon would be a better fit. And we need a ball hawking safety.
Correct.
Because we have
safety. You got two
exactly. We got Trevan Merrick.
But Trevan Merrick can also play free safety as well. He doesn't have to play box.
He can, but that's, from what I understand, that's not necessarily his top strength. He's more of a box safety, more of an enforcer. And then who's the rookie we just drafted?
Damani Richardson. Or are you? Which one are you talking about?
From Ohio State. Why am I Ransom?
Ransom.
Yeah. So Ransom, another box safety, and then Damani Richardson, I really, really like too. So, I hope he gets an opportunity. I think he's going to have significant playing time this year too. But yeah, I think Panthers Nation would be throwing a party if we sign Blackmon tomorrow.
Then package Tuttle and DJ Johnson, trade them from a Gullet Rock. Then Diggett asked this question. Then why did we resign? We never resigned. We're about to cut him, and he took a pay cut to stay on the roster. Because I honestly think if he went to another roster, he probably would have been on that back end on a 1-year deal. That's the reason why. Zach said, I wanted Julian Blackmon. I just think all about the money. The reason both sides haven't agreed yet. I totally agree. My co-host over here, Uncle Quan, appreciate you, my guy. He's coming from practice. He said, Doug and Total beef got to be studied. It's not a beef. I'm just stating facts. Like we said, we state facts. It's no beef at all. Let me see. All I'm going to say is winners never cheat and cheaters never win. That is the fiance, and I did not realize who wrote that comment. That is the fiance in the chat. What's going on, babe? I appreciate that comment.
Oh, that's your fiance?
Oh, that's amazing. That's
No,
absolutely
awesome.
amazing.
That is her. I did not. I've read the comment. I'm like, hold on, let me look at the name. So yes, she is
That's
in the
awesome.
chat. All right, let me see. Tuttle is one of the many who signed with Carolina to get a check. I agree. The desire to be good is not in Tuttle anymore. Quan, I'm gonna text it to you because you like Doug. You wild tonight. I'm gonna text it to you. Let me see. All right. So, real quick, let's go ahead and review the two losers that we have talked about. Biggest losers, and I probably should have put hot seat or hot plate versus Doug because again, they call me the hot plate over here. So let me go ahead and hide Quan's comment real quick. But we talk about Raheem Blackshear and we talk about Shot Tuttle. So we'll just go down the line. Let's talk about DJ Johnson. 44 total tackles, 0.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery. Whoever side, I'm gonna be.
That was me. Sorry,
because I was about it. Net scoring got your job.
yeah.
That's all I got. Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'll go. Mine's gonna be short too. I'm a 37-year-old dad, and DJ Johnson is the same age as me, and he's not good at football. He needs to not be on the team. So his job is, his days are numbered. I'll just say that.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, even Babe Ruth, swung and missed every once in a while. Like he struck out every once in a while, and not all of your draft picks are going to be home runs, right? And this one was just one that never materialized. It never really happened. He was, if I remember correctly, we traded up to get him. He was kind of a reach, like that kind of thing, and then it just didn't work. It just didn't work. Every once in a while, you get it wrong. The team just got this one wrong, and it's time to cut your losses and move on.
Here's an interesting question
real quick, man.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Shout out to Clay at the Rap Report. We got another content creator again. How I end the show, I'll go ahead and throw it in there. Support all these content creators. Again, we're working hard. I think you guys don't know how much collabing we do behind the scenes. But we all have different perspectives. I appreciate you showing up here tonight, Clay. Again, me and Clay, I call him Clay. Me and Clay have done work before. Again, Clay's going to be up here. Clay has filmed that me and him talked about. We just haven't had the schedules. But when we do these player profiles, trust me, go ahead and check out the Rap Star game and the Rap Star report. So I appreciate you showing up tonight, Clay. Go ahead, man. I just had to shout out another one of our colleagues, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he does great work. And man, we just, you know what, the Panthers fan community, like, and I'm a consumer of like your, Doug, your podcast and a bunch of the other Panthers podcasts. Like we're spoiled, man. We got a lot. Yeah. We have a lot of good podcasters and creators. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, I was just gonna say with DJ Johnson, can you guys think of a worse draft pick, like just a worse fail of a pick, like because he's up there. I can't think of many picks that, like, at the time were so criticized. And DJ Johnson, yes, 100%. He was a panic draft pick.
And here's the deal: we don't do panic drafting anymore.
No, but Eric, let's even elaborate on it. We don't ask our coaches the day of the draft, who do you want here? Again, I'm gonna allude to that. And we did not have to worry about Dan Morgan turning around saying, "Oh, Evero, who do you want?" Again, our only thing Dave Canales said is when he did mock drafts, and I appreciate them saying that they went to go through a mock, regardless of their board being right here. We could not mock our first 3 picks the way we were able to get them. Mm-hmm. And I done mock drafts. There was no way you're getting Tet, Scorton, and Princely in those first 3 picks. And we didn't. And yes, we did trade up, but at the same time, there was no way you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
There was no mock I've seen anybody be able to get those 3 players like that. And again, nobody had to turn around and ask a coach, hey, coach, who do you want right here? The game plan was already put out. The board was already set. And we attacked the board even, I think, harder than what we did. Because when Nick Scorton fell, and if you had a first-round grade on them, that's when they went to go get Nick Scorton. Then that's where Pritzley was upset that he was a 3rd-round pick, supposed to be a 2nd-round pick. So, again, there was no panic picks here last weekend there in Charlotte. And I agree with Ben, and I apologize for taking that over, Ben, but there was no panic picks that you had to worry about a coach or a GM saying, oh, let's go and get this player without a plan and have a plan for that player.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, we had a plan going in. We had done the work in free agency to be able to follow the board, and we just went with the best players that we could. And we didn't reach for anybody unnecessarily. None of that kind of stuff. Again, it's a different culture in here. It's not Scott Fitterer's, front office anymore. And Dan Morgan, if there's one thing that I've been impressed in both of the drafts about, it's him being cool, calm, and collected and not doing the panicky thing. But when he sees somebody he wants to go get, he goes and decisively gets them. And I think that's just how we're going to be doing drafting. And whoever said that about the panic pick, I think it was dead on. I hadn't been able to put those words to it. But dead on was right, I think.
Yeah.
And let me read plays. He said the way Dan was so strategic in the trades were no harm, no foul, basically swap picks, and we didn't overpay. That's the biggest thing. And while we transition into our last loser, this is no shade, but when you look at what the Atlanta Falcons did for James Pierce, they overpaid. Because you really could have gave your 2nd-round pick and not your first going into next year. Because again, a lot of people are trying to position themselves to double up 1st-round picks with the quarterbacks that are coming out next year. And I understand they got Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., but I like our tandem where we didn't give up the farm. And no, they did not give up the farm, but the farm of giving a 1st-round pick in your future, and you were at the back end, and you could have gave up a 2nd and possibly another 3rd or a 2nd in your next year. That's giving up the farm to me. So,
dude, I couldn't believe they did that. Honestly, I mean, we've gotten crapped on a ton, for trading up, trading a 1st-round pick to go up and get Bryce. But at least ours was for a quarterback. They traded a 1st-round pick to go up and pick a guy who he's a good player. James Pierce Jr. is a good player, but there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about him, and that's the reason that he fell, because just based off of talent, he probably should have been like a top 10 to 15 pick. But I just think I don't know, maybe it'll work out for him. But yeah, at least we traded up for a quarterback. They traded a 1st-round pick for an edge rusher who may not even pan out. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see. Read a couple more comments. Never forget the facial expression Dan Morgan gave Scott Fitter after trading up and selecting DJ. Then we got if James Pierce works out, that's a problem for us because Moton's on his way out and his replacement got to pick up where he left off. I agree with that, but when that problem gets here, we'll talk about that. I love the fact that we gave up on DJ after 2 years, but no Bryce. But who? Okay. Whoa, hold on. I love the fact that we gave up on DJ after 2 years, but not Bryce, who is 6 and 22.
Omar trying to start a fight.
Yeah, I mean, we're at losers, and we were already talking about Bryce again. It does not negate that what Bryce Young has done. But when you pull the veil back and you look at it as a whole team, all that's not on Bryce. You had a coach that didn't want him. You had a scheme that didn't fit him. You didn't have weapons. You didn't have a line. That's why I was summing up in. And we can go back if you want to come back, Omar. And if you ask me to do a video, we'll talk about it. But again, I think that Bryce talk is the side for right now for tonight. That can be tabled. Need to send a little bill to the Shadow Realm. AC Carter be to DC. And I saw that today. I don't know if you guys saw that. I saw somebody tweet AC Carter being our new DC, the one that came from the Rams. I saw that on Twitter today.
No, what is that?
If Evero gets fired, that AC Carter could be a candidate to be our new DC.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, like I said, look at that one. I was definitely shocked when I saw that. What'd he say? Hello, y'all don't listen, man. Then Eternal's been giving everybody fits. He said, "Gotta put the fandom aside and live in reality." I definitely am. So, hey, I already know how you feel about it. I know how you feel about us and the team Eternal. I just think I'm being more realistic than fandom because, again, the fandom is. I will admit that I thought Bryce Young was definitely needed to be benched because he had PTSD. Then you look at what he was able to do when he came back. And now he's building on something, and then we know we have the quarterback of the future. Now, if he wets the bed going into 2025, then we have an issue. But I don't see that happening. Let me see.
Bryce had out. The only thing I'll say about the Bryce topic is, and Eric and I, like, we've talked about this so many times on our podcast, but he had no chance his rookie year. He had absolutely no chance.
I got you. I see what you said. So you're being a Falcons fan. I understand where you're coming from with that.
Always been a Falcons fan.
Yeah, he's a Falcons fan. I understand that.
Yeah. So anyway, Bryce had zero shot his rookie year. No, yes, he there were things within his control that he could have done better, but we just talked about his receiving core that he had earlier. We talked about his offensive line.
I'll pull back up. We got slides. Yeah,
we got slides. We just talked about
professional.
I mean, like I said earlier, it was Adam Thielen and a bunch of mop buckets. Okay, that's who he was throwing to his rookie year, and he had a horrible offensive line, one of the worst in the league. He had a lame duck head coach who bounced the play calling back and forth between him and the offensive coordinator 3 separate times throughout the season. There were 2 separate offenses that they were trying to install between Thomas Brown and Frank Reich. So I push back when people start referring to Bryce Young's record as some sort of indictment against him, because he had absolutely no shot his rookie year. Now, last year, did he deserve to be benched after the first 2 games? I think so, but we saw how he came back at the end of last season. So I don't know. I'm not a huge proponent of referring to Bryce's record as some sort of argument against why the Panthers should be considering potentially moving on from him this early in his career.
Got you. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our last loser with the draft and the free agency, and that's Jadeveon Clowney. 46 total tackles, 5.5 sacks, 4 pass deflects. When I forgot who asked that question after the draft, and I know David Newton tweeted it. I think he was the first to tweet it. We're saying that the Panthers had Jadeveon Clowney on the trading block. I don't think that was the right wording for that. I think they took calls because, again, I think with the way the board fell, now it's like that $7 million cap hit. Go to a contender. We'll vouch for you. We'll put the word in if we need a trade or whatever. But I think with the youth movement and the way he wasn't able to produce like we wanted him to produce last year, I think that's where you took 2 edges right away. Because you also have DJ Waddle, who's on 1 more year deal. He's a free agent next year. Then you look at it, you have Pat Jones that's coming in on a 2-year deal. Could they swap? Both coming from Minnesota, 1 out the door, 1 in the door. So, again, you want a youth movement because, again, you want it through free agency, but you also want it through the draft as well. And, again, I love Princely and Nick Scorton. I love that duo right there. And, again, you put a big hog molly, shout out to Dave Gettleman, and a Cam Jackson at 6'6", 300 pounds. So, for me, I hate it because I bought a jersey because, again, he's from the Carolinas. He's from the South. He's not from the North. But I wouldn't be mad if they let him go because he wants to go to a contender and it saves us money. And I think that money does help you get Julian Blackmon. Now the only thing with that is, would this be a post-June? Because if Julian Blackman signs with somebody else, that's money wasted where you could go ahead and cut the fat now and go ahead and bring in the safety that you always wanted. And also, Dan Morgan said they're still out there looking at free agents, but we don't have the money. So that's why I think some moves are about to be made as well with certain players getting the boot out the door. So, and I think it starts with Jadeveon Clowney.
I would love to see him stay around if at all possible, just from a veteran standpoint. I love the story of him being, kind of from here. But when we signed him last year, I remember the Blueprint episode where we signed him, and he and his family went to the, walked through the locker room and did all that kind of stuff, and he looked old. Like he was walking around and he just looked old when he was walking. Like he was hurt and injured or whatever. Like knees weren't working the way they're supposed to. I don't know, but I had that impression before the season even started last year, before camp even started, and we got a whole nother year of that. So I would love to have him around for the intangibles, but I think that almost like a la Adam Thielen type situation where he probably has one more year left and can kind of tutor the room type thing. But we're going to continue to get younger. We're going to continue to bring in other players to elevate the roster. This might just be one of those times where the numbers, the dollars themselves make it prevent that from being able to happen. As much as fans we would like for him to stay around, it just may not be feasible in order for us to do what else we need to for the roster.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I kind of lean towards the wanting to keep him around too. Like if he wants to be here. Now I will say what you said, Doug, is that's enticing. Like the thought of the money that we potentially would save from getting rid of Clowney. Could we use that to go get somebody like Blackman? Like that's enticing. But like if Clowney wants to be here, I'm a proponent of keeping him around at least for one more season because we've got Scorton, we've got Princely coming in. And that's exciting. But Clowney being that veteran presence, like I'm very excited about. You mentioned Adam Thielen, Eric. Like I'm very excited about Adam Thielen mentoring T-Mac and like having that veteran in the room that can kind of take T-Mac under his wing, show him how to be a pro. Clowney could do the same thing with Scorton and Princely. And honestly, Princely, man, when you watch him on the field, like he kind of reminds me a little bit of Clowney, and a lot of that's his body type. He's long, he's fast, he's big and fast. He kind of looks like Clowney out there a little bit, running around. But no, if we can keep Clowney for one more year to mentor Scorton, I always mess up his name, and Princely, and he wants to be here, I kind of would like to keep him. Plus, like I'm not interested. We just got to a point where our depth on the defensive line and at the edge position is in a good spot. I'm not really super thrilled about the idea of getting rid of a solid player like Clowney right now. But if he doesn't want to be here, then and we can save some money. Then
I don't think it was the more of one to be here, because I think it was just more of how the board fell. And again, like I said, I didn't like how David Newton pulled the trigger so quickly. Whenever that came out, where he said we're still evaluating the roster, that means the Carolina Panthers were trying to trade him, and that's what exactly he rushed a tweet. He basically said we're trying to trade him away, and I don't think that was the case.
David Newton, you said
David Newton was the first one that posted that, and
fucking hate that guy.
David Newton tweeted something irresponsibly. What?
Correct. So for me, I want him here, and I think was it Eternal that made a good point, and I agree with him on this point. We not gonna act like Clowney wasn't bull rushing the line. He just didn't have anybody to help him clean it up. I totally agree with that. Again, when you look, the example that was on Twitter today was the Washington Commanders. You had a Shot Tuttle, LeBron Ray, and I don't know if Wanham was there yet, but I know DJ Johnson started a couple of games. Now, when you add, and I'll pull this slide up, you add a healthy, and let me take this comment off. When you add a healthy DB, now you add in a Cam Jackson, a Princely, a Scorton, a Bobby Brown III, a Pat Jones, and a Trevan Wharton. He has pieces to go along with him now. He doesn't have to do it by himself. Then you're not going to double team Derrick Brown and then try to double team another one of these players because you only have 5 linemen. So for me, I think injuries hurt us, and I think a lot of fans forgot what was the potential if we were at full strength. And both of you made great points. I will say myself as well. Both of you gentlemen made a good point. When you have a line that can keep those linebackers clean, and I think that's what the main objective was going into the offseason, stacking up that front line, that front 7, where, again, another one of our winners, a Trevan Wallace that can come in his second year and look like the new prodigy of that linebacker room. The sky is the limit with the youth movement, but the best way to do this is you have veterans that mold, put a little sprinkle of youth in there, and then you have a team. Somebody also made a point in the chat where it said, I would love to see how AC Carter worked with Princely and Scorton. Did we forget who we just worked with, Brandon Fisk and Verse, and what he was able to do with them in their rookie years at the LA Rams? So now you actually have coaches that can actually put their resume on the table and say, I was able to do this with this team. I know how to go look for talent. I know how to bring in young men that can come in and contribute right away. So I honestly think for going back, I put them as a loser or one of the biggest losers due to the draft. But I would put an asterisk by it because, again, it's either a win or a lose. You either cut him, and when you cut him, you bring in Julian Blackman. But if you cut him just to cut him and you don't bring in a safety, I think that's going to leave a sour taste in the fan base's mouth because, again, we need that safety. We need that money for that safety. So, fellas, you got anything else for the biggest losers or how you guys feeling about it?
Coben.
No, I think no, I can't think of any other losers. I think the 3 of us are winners. I think everybody in the chat is a winner. And I think the Panthers in general are winners in this entire draft process because we absolutely crushed it. No other losers I can think of.
I think not to be too philosophical about it, but I think that we're going to have a lot of winners or losers before we start winning. And I think that we're going to have players that we have turnover on the team, on the roster, in order for us to start winning more, right? So when we want to get to that nine wins, we're bringing in players. We got to cut some. And as much as it sucks, some people's favorite players or whatever, some players are just, we don't even remember that they were here in the first place. But yeah, I think that from a roster perspective, there's going to be turnover and we're going to have competition, and the players that don't rise to the top are going to have to try to rise to the top somewhere else. A la the wide receivers from last year, they're all trying to make a roster. You know what I mean? Like, none of them are like particularly sure things, right? And so, there's going to continue to be turnover. We knew this was going to be a couple of year-long rebuild and turnaround. Where there's going to be some casualties from it. I think that these 4 are certainly casualties. Unfortunately, as much as I don't like it for some of them, other ones don't let the door hit you. But if we could keep climbing.
Going in.
So Clowney sucks. Blackshear sucks to me, but that's the nature of the NFL. It's a business, and there's going to be that turnover. You got to get people in that can perform.
Yeah, man. So let's do a quick recap before we close it out. Winners, again, for those that are just joining, is Dan Morgan's vision for the Carolina Panthers in the 2025 from free agency to the 2025 draft. Our second winner was our quarterback of the future, Bryce Young, comparing his weapons when he first got in the league to what is on the table now. Who don't got no weapons? Number 3 is Derrick Brown with the pieces that we brought in via free agency and the draft, but particularly the draft. We have a young nuclear core that can go along with that veteran right there. Then you have Trevan Wallace, linebacker of the future, possibly. We've had the greats of Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. Now it had Frankie Louvu. Now it's Trevan Wallace time. Then the losers. We start out with Raheem Blackshear, Shy Tuttle, DJ Johnson, and Jadeveon Clowney. Again, I appreciate Keep Purring podcast joining us tonight, man. Ben and Eric, hopefully the chat enjoyed us. If you are new, please subscribe over here. What's up, Doug? We've had a plethora of content creators coming up, joining us, talking about different topics from pre-draft free agency to now post-draft. So trust me, the train is rolling. I've been talking to Ben. We finally were able to get one before because we were supposed to go tomorrow, but I said, Ben, I'll be on the road headed to Fort Steele, so I won't be able to do it. But I appreciate you and Eric joining us tonight, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Tell the people where they can find you guys at X and YouTube. Go ahead. Either one of you guys go ahead and share it.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, so I'm Keep Purring Ben on X. Eric is Keep Purring Eric on X, although I'm the more active of the two of us on there. Yeah, you can we've been a little dormant, our podcast, in the off season, but we're going to start ramping things up here pretty soon. We would really appreciate it if you guys aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel to hop over there. Keep Purring, the Carolina Panthers podcast. That would be awesome. We have an audio podcast too. It's on Spotify, Apple, all that fun stuff. So, Doug, thank you so much, man, for having us. This was an absolute blast.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate you. We got to get you on our podcast here sometime in the near future too.
Hey, look. Only thing I gotta do is check in with the boss. We might be wetting the bed. Other than that, hey, she's in the chat. Like I said, she gave us a couple of stars, so I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Like I said, anytime you guys know we do that big training camp preview. We got to figure out a different way to do it this year, but you guys are more than welcome on when we do that, and I love the pleasure coming on you guys' channel. Let me read a couple of comments I see. They said, shout out to C. Douglas Barber, dude. Got you. Hey, I got drill tomorrow, man. So I got to run to the store, get some stuff. But I definitely got to get a haircut before I go see Uncle Sam tomorrow. My co-host said, great show. I appreciate you, Quan, man. But again, it's your man, C. Dougie here at What's Up, Doug. If you are on Twitter, please follow me on Twitter. If you are on the YouTube side, you have not hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit the subscribe button. If you're new, go look at the mock drafts. We just did a video on draft recap that we just dropped on Sunday. Definitely check that out if you have not checked that out. Check out Keep Purring Ben. Keep Purring Ben. Keep Purring Ben and Keep Purring Eric, but Keep Purring Podcast. Again, I appreciate these gentlemen joining us. As we always do over here, What's Up, Doug? We tell you guys we appreciate the support. We appreciate the love. Continue to support all Panther content creators. Be safe. What is the other one? Be safe, stay blessed, and until next time, peace.